my fellow comic book collectors, it's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is the Friday challenge where I ask you to look through your long boxes and do something a little bit special this week. This is also going to be a tag video. I haven't done one of those for a while, so I figured, hey, tag video, Friday challenge, plus it's also an answer to one of my Q&A questions. Somebody asked me, what are my top 25 comics in my collection? And what I wanted to do is just show you the most expensive comics in my collection, just based on price, fair market value for each. So it's a pretty big list. It's almost $300,000 worth of comics. It's a pretty big list, 25 comics, but almost $300,000 worth of value there. The first book and the cheapest on the list at $4,500 is Reformed Schoolgirl. This is a really rare book. It features a Canadian figure skater, is the woman that does, is the one that's pictured there. But it's just such a classic book. You know, you got this kind of sleazy looking woman, and it's Reformed Schoolgirl. So it's just a interesting book. This one was mentioned in the Seduction of Innocent. It was actually one that was mentioned with a photo. So it is very desired by collectors, and that is part of the reason why it goes for so much money. Just a great book. So, and has bras on the back. So Reformed Schoolgirl. That's from 1951. Next on my list, number 24, is Sensation Comics number 2. This is another pretty rare book, hard to find actually. You see this a lot less than Sensation number 1, strangely. This has the very first appearance of Etta Candy as well, which is Wonder Woman's sidekick. She's sort of a short, pudgy girl, but it's Wonder Woman's sidekick. And this is a H.G. Peter cover, I believe. And the story is written by Marston, who is the creator of Wonder Woman. So just a really cool book from 1942, early Wonder Woman cover as well. So yeah, I think that's her third cover, maybe. And it's also the second appearance of Wildcat and the Black Pirate. So a whole bunch going for that book. Number 23 on the list is Batman number 49. Now, this is a pretty major book in terms of first appearances. It's the first appearance of Vicky Vale, who is the love interest for Batman. And it's also the first appearance of the Mad Hatter. As well, it is a very cool Joker cover. It's like, this genie, Joker genie cover. Very cool. Joker covers generally go for a bit more because they are like kind of sought after by collectors. People love the Joker. This one has that desirability to it. This is in a 6.5, really high grade for this book. That's why it goes for about $4,600. It was actually up higher than that, but it's recently dropped. So this is a Bob Kane cover, and yeah, just a really cool classic Joker cover. You have guns on the back on this one. Next one is one of the few more modern-ish comics on the list. It's Albedo number 2 and a 7.5. This is like his first appearance of Usagi Yojimbo, and it's just a classic book. Very hard book to find actually. Very low census count. Like if you think about this book for those anthropomorphic characters, it's actually rarer than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's like maybe around 1,000 on the census. Very low census count for this book. For a modern-ish book. This has the San Sakai cover art, and just a really cool book. Not such a great back cover, but definitely a cool front cover. I really like the whole samurai style with the rice paper window, or door I should say, and he's doing the flick with his thumb and opening up the sword. It's just so cool. He's got that very serious look to his face. So yeah, so Albedo number 2. Next is a very major book. If it was in non-restored, this one's restored, it would be worth a ton of more money. But this one is restored, and because of that, it goes for about $5,500. And it is Police Comics number 1. It's the very first appearance of a whole bunch of characters. It's the first appearance of Plastic Man, is the big character, though, that most people know. But it's also the first appearance of the Blonde Phantom, and the Mouthpiece, and the Human Bomb, as well as Firebrand, I believe. So just a major comic because it starts the whole franchise with Plastic Man. Now later on, Plastic Man gets bought out by as a character, and also with it Phantom Lady by DC Comics. So you know, at this point, it was not owned by, it wasn't a DC character. It was Quality Comics from 1941. And who did the cover? The cover is by Gil Fox. So just a classic character. One of the first superheroes with kind of more quirky superpowers. So just a really cool character. Plastic Man, first appearance. Police Comics number 1. That was a big book for me to find, actually. I was so excited when I won it. I really didn't think I was going to win it because my bid was, you know, I think it was like 5,000 or something like that. And I was seeing like 0.5s and 1.0s going for around that same price. So I thought, oh, wow, you know, I'm not going to win at that kind of low price, but I did. I was pretty excited. Actually, I should tell you what the restoration is. The restoration includes color touch, pieces added, reinforced, and it's actually from the collection of John Burke. So, and he was a major collector of comics. Okay, next one, number 25 on the, or number 20 on the list, is Amazing Spider-Man number 1, another restored book. That's how I afford most of these big books. So it's in a 6.0, so it's a very nice presenting book. You know, this is the series that probably one of the most famous Silver Age series of all, Amazing Spider-Man. And this is the one that starts it all. It's also the first appearance of Jonah Jameson, and it's also the first appearance of the Chameleon. So the restoration includes first wrap married and top edge cover trimmed. Now it's got color touch, pieces added, tear seals, reinforced, reglossed, staples replaced. So it is extensive, moderate extensive restoration, B4. So that's like moderately professional restoration. But, you know, classic book, Stan Lee's story and Steve Ditko cover. So just a great book. Even in a restored grade, it commands big money. Had it not been restored, it'd probably be worth about 3 or 4 times more. So sadly, it's lower on the list than it probably could have been. Next book is another. This one I actually got a really good deal on. I was kind of shocked that the guy agreed. Like I put in a best offer. That was like a really low ball offer, like I think 3,000 or 4,000, which is a low ball offer for this book. This book goes for. Wait, I'm just going to make sure I got the right. Yeah, this one goes for around $9,000 in a 1/8. And the reason it goes for so much, it's the very first appearance of the Riddler. So this is Detective Comics number 140, and it's from 1948. It's a Win Mortimer cover, and it's just a great one because you got the the Riddler on the cover, which is kind of one of the major Batman villains. And this one is interesting because it is missing a big chunk, and that's why it got the low grade. It's actually a very solid cover in terms of the grade, except for this big piece missing. Now, this big piece that's missing, it's only a little bit of his foot that's lost, and it's mostly yellow here. So it actually didn't really detract from the art, which is kind of convenient. Just a really cool book. And you got, I believe it's Tootsie Rolls on Adventure of RC and Quickie, actually. So it's a very cool book. Detective Comics 140, first appearance of the Riddler. Next one is another first appearance, but it's a Silver Age first appearance. It's the first appearance of Thor, and this is Journey into Mystery 83. And it's a great, another one of these covers where you got the hero, the main character on the cover, which is always great. It always adds more to the value, and it is just a classic one where he's showing his powers. He's whipping that hammer around, he's beating up all the bad guys. Just a really cool first appearance. Now, at this time, they were really this was a monster book beforehand. And they realized that superheroes were kind of cool. They saw the success of DC superheroes, and they started introducing in their monster titles new characters. Amazing Fantasy was a monster title. Journey into Mystery was a monster title. Tales to Astonish was a monster title. And they started introducing new characters into those books where they were cool superheroes. And Thor was one of those ones. Now, this is from 1962. It also has restoration. Again, that's why I was able to afford it. This one is C1, though, so it's slight amateur restoration. It includes small amount of color touch, all three edges trimmed. Origin and first appearance of Thor. And it's a Jack Kirby cover. So, cool book. And even though it's restored, it goes for around $9,600 in a restored grade like that. Okay, next one is All-American Comics number 61. This is a recent pickup for me, and it's new to the list, I should say. Just a cool book. This is the first appearance of Solomon Grundy. Just a classic horror themed cover as well. Like, you got the bats, you got the like monster guy, which is Solomon Grundy, coming out of the swamp. Just a really cool book. So this one, the cover is done by Paul Reedman cover, and it's from DC Comics 1944. Just a really cool book. I really like it. And you got a Baby Ruth ad on the back. So, really cool book. All-American Comics number 61. And for me, this is not only a cool first appearance, but it's actually a really cool cover. I really like that horror theme cover. Really great book. And it presents really well, considering it's a 2.5. It's got some issues here, and somebody colored in the A, but I can live with that. I just so excited to have this book in my collection. I did this one on monthly payments for a bunch of months. It's the only way I could afford it. Okay. Now we're getting to number 16 on the list. Is another big book. This is showcase number 4. Is the very first appearance of the Silver Age Flash, which is Barry Allen. New character, new idea for how the Flash would work. Just a very cool book altogether. This one really is the book that started the Silver Age. It actually brought back superheroes. Superheroes were on sort of a downturn at that point. So this is from 1958 or 6, number 56, 1956. So this is like right between when you have the Golden Age. Everyone's like panicking because the Comic Code Authority is now into play. That's why you get this massive comic book authority stamp on them, where all of a sudden they're censoring comics. They're really removing all the risque stuff from comics, the overly gory or violent covers and stories. That was all getting removed. And it was really a return to superheroes. Superheroes were really not that popular at the end of the Atomic Age. They were really kind of on the downturn. But Flash kind of brought it all back. and he showed that superheroes could be successful again. And it was really about different type of story writing. With Showcase, what happened is now they're introducing new characters, but with the Flash, what they did was they had more of a episodic storytelling, where the story would continue from one book to the next, and that was a huge change for the Silver Age. Very cool book. I mean, they did it in this Golden Age too, but it was really a Silver Age thing that kind of made it more of a thing for the characters. So yeah, so just a really cool book. Started the Silver Age, major book for the DC collectors. And it's Carmen Infantino cover with also Joe Kubert. And it's also the first appearance of Iris West and the Turtle. Okay, now we're at the top 15. So number 15 on the list is Wonder Woman number 7. Now this is not a key book. It's just a fairly high grade for this book, and it's a classic cover. Wonder Woman for President. Just a classic cover. So it's very desirable for that reason, and it's also a low-digit Wonder Woman book. So they're generally pretty expensive and very low census counts. Just a classic book. So this one is a cream to off-white pages as well. It's from winter of 1943, and it's a H.G. Peter cover. Just a cool book. What if Wonder Woman was president? And it's 3,000 years in the future. Or 1,000 years in the future. Sorry, 1,000 years in the future. So just a cool book. Now we're at number 14 on the list, and it's Miss Fury number 1. So this book is Alex Schomburg cover, and it is the very first comic book appearance of Miss Fury, who was created by a female creator. Yeah, it's like Tarpe Mills is the name of the creator. Basically, she was producing this character for the newspapers, the comic strips, and they decided to make it into a comic book. Just a very cool character who actually is earlier than Wonder Woman. So she's from winter of 1942. So just a classic character. Really great Alex Schomburg art. And it's in a 5.5, which is a high grade for this book. Really hard to get this book in high grade. So yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move all these over because the stack is getting quite high. And we're at number 13 on the list. This is my only raw book in the list, and it's my Sensation Comics number 6. This is a pretty major book. It's the very first appearance of Jumpa, who is Wonder Woman's super pet, and it's also the very first appearance of this type of mount, I guess. It looks like a kangaroo. They're called kangas. They're an alien race of kangaroos, these extra large kangaroos that the women of the mascara ride as horses. And it's also the very first appearance of the magic lasso. So very cool book. And it's good that the first appearance is on the cover of all these things. So yeah, so just a really cool book. Hard to find. This is a really rare book. I was lucky. Actually, somebody had this on eBay, and they were doing lots of 3. They didn't know anything about Sensation Comics. I could tell just by the way that they were listing. They were listing the books in groups of 3. So it was like 5, 6, 7. Or it was like they didn't have 1. So they went 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 as lots. And then I think they went all the way. I only won 1 of the 3 lots, which was kind of frustrating, but they were, collectors saw. And they weren't cheap, but I did get this one for a bit of a steal because it's a pretty pricey book. Even in this grade, it's not a high grade book. I sort of graded out at maybe a 2 or 3 in that range, I would say. What did I price it out at? Yeah, it goes for around $8,000 in this grade. Okay, so somehow I mix up the order of the books. So we got the orders a little bit mixed up. I realized I moved certain books in proper order. Oh well, there's the lower valued ones are a little bit in proper order. I realize that now. The Journey into Mystery was higher up on the list than these ones. But this is still a valuable book and around that $8,000 mark. I realized I have the lots mixed up. Oh well, oops. Oh well. The next one though, number 11 on the list is Fantastic Four #1. Just a really awesome book. This is probably one of the most significant Marvel books out there. Because this is where Marvel realizes, hey, we got to go all in on superheroes or we're going to be out of business. So this is the book that really launched Marvel Comics. It's also a 10-cent issue, so it's just a very early Silver Age. This is from 1961. It's a Jack Kirby cover. It is the origin and the first appearance of the Fantastic Four, Marvel's first superhero team. And it's also the first appearance of Mole Man, which is a major character. Not really. Okay, so just a cool book, classic cover as well. This book has been homaged many, many times. Again, I got it cheaper because it is restored. Mine's extensive B5, which means that a lot was done to this book, but it is one where it was done semi-professionally. It's a white pager as well. The restoration includes color touch, pieces added, tear seals, reinforced, reglossed, staples replaced, top and right edge trimmed. So a lot was done to this book. But still, I'm super happy to have it in my collection. If it was not restored, much more expensive book, which I couldn't afford. So I'm happy to have it. This next book is just another one that I went through so much trouble trying to get this one. It's More Fun Comics number 55. Really hard book to get. And this one, even though it's a 1.0, goes for crazy money. It goes for about $8,500. And yeah, so this is the first appearance of Dr. Fate. This book had gone crazy during the whole spec around Dr. Fate and the Black Adam movie. I thought Pierce Bronson, who played Dr. Fate, did an awesome job. I think it was not that bad of a movie, but it didn't perform that well. So, you know, this book had gone up to around $10,000. Now it's dipped down about that $8,500 mark. So this one is low grade because spine of cover completely split, cover reattached with tape. First appearance of Dr. Fate, Kent Nielsen. First appearance of Wu-Tan and Insa, and fourth appearance of the Spectre. It's a Bernard Bailey cover as well. Just a classic book. Got some interesting things on the back as well with animals and stuff. Not sure what's going on there. So yeah, so Royal Rider bicycle tires. I don't know what that is all about, but oh well. So just a cool book. More Fun Comics number 55 from 1940. Okay, now we're getting into the top 10. This I actually have organized correctly, so which is good. So number 10 on the list is, and I gotta make sure, yeah, this goes for about $11,000. Is Sensation Comics #1. Now this is the very first appearance on the cover of Wonder Woman. So this is the first time you actually get to see her on the cover, which is really great. It's her second appearance overall, and it's origin in the first appearance of Wildcat and Mr. Terrific, I believe. Or Fantastic. Is it Fantastic? Yeah. So this one is a 0.5 grade. Even though it's a 0.5 grade, It's a 0.5 grade because it's missing the centerfold. That is actually pretty common for this book. I don't know why. I think it's one that just the staples were that it's wartime, that they didn't use the proper staples and the centerfolds would fall out. I've seen ones where there's multiple pages where it's fallen out on these. Very common to find this in that 0.5 grade. Now this is, I believe, another H.G. Peter cover as well. It's just a really great book. I mean, this is one of my top favorite books in my collection, actually. I'm a big Wonder Woman fan, and I just love the fact that this is her first cover appearance, and it's a cool cover appearance. You got her, you know, deflecting the bullets off her bracelets. You got her kind of diving in, attacking these three criminals, and you know, you got the moon in the behind her. They always do that, where like the moon or something to kind of spotlight the character. I kind of love that. It's very Americana book as well. So yeah, and then you got a whole bunch of rifles, which is even more Americana on the back. So yeah, just a really cool book. This is one of my favorites. As I said, it's one of what I would call the trio of books that you need to get if you want to get the grails for Wonder Woman, which are Sensation 1, All-Star 8, and Wonder Woman 1. Those are the three big books for Wonder Woman collectors. And that's the first you'll see on this list. So next on the list, number 9, is Hulk number 1. Now this is the first appearance of the Hulk. And just a classic character. He was originally gray when he was first introduced. And he was much more like, how to describe it? He was much more like a werewolf. I don't know if that makes sense. He would turn into the Hulk at night. You know, so, you know, it's kind of a weird thing. Like, he would be normal during the day. At night, he would turn into the Hulk. So this character has a lot of the monster elements to it. He has that, turns into, not a werewolf, but he turns into the Hulk at night. Also, he becomes a different version of himself. It's almost like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He is a doctor as when he's normal, when he's Bruce Banner. And, you know, it also, this book gives his origin story. Yeah, it's just a really cool book where monsters kind of meet superheroes. They really tried with the Hulk. Not a very successful character when it first came out. The run only lasted 6 issues. And, but they still tried to keep the Hulk going, and they introduced him in Avengers, and they introduced him into Tales to Astonish later on. So this is from 1962. It's origin, first appearance of the Incredible Hulk, first appearance of Rick Jones, which is his sidekick. Also the first appearance of Betty Ross and General Ross. And it's George Rousseau's cover and Jack Kirby. So very cool book. And you can learn how to draw too on the back. So lots of important things. Really good one. That's number 9 on the list. Number 8 on the list is a major book. It is actually the most expensive non-traditional superhero book. It's like, if you think about like DC books and Marvel books, they're usually the most expensive books. Well, this is a non-traditional, it is a traditional superhero, but it's just not one of those Marvel or DC ones that usually commands big money. But it is a major book. This one had a sale of $500,000. Crazy sale. Now, because it's restored, I got it for a fraction of that cost. This is actually a pretty high grade, 8.5. And this one has slight to moderate C2 restoration. So this is one that was mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent, and it's known for being in The Seduction of the Innocent because it was one that was actually pictured in The Seduction of the Innocent, just like the Reformed Schoolgirl was. This one was in the Seduction Innocent because it has that sort of bondage and headlights. And, you know, Wortham, who wrote the Seduction Innocent, he felt that this one was like kind of appealing to little boys and their sexual desires, and not necessarily in a good way. So very interesting book. This one is also a Matt Baker cover with, I think, L. Felstein elements, for a little bit of enhancements by L. Felstein. The reason I say that is L. Felstein drew this kind of style of breasts, if I have to be clear about it. Whereas if you look at Matt Baker's art, they're generally, his girls are a little bit more flat-chested comparatively. And, you know, so back in the day, this was from Fox Featured Syndicate. They would have sort of a mixture of the two situations where you'd get a bunch of artists working together, and they would each kind of enhance each other's art and, you know, try to create the best image possible. And I think that's what happened in this case. But this is attributed to Matt Baker, who was considered to be one of the best artists of all time. Another signature thing for Matt Baker, if you ever want to find, you know, oh, that's a Matt Baker-ish cover, is the hair. His hair has almost like a life to it. You can see the sort of dynamic hairstyle where the hair is very, very lively. Just a great book, classic book. The restoration on it includes a small amount of color touch on the cover. Spine split, sealed to cover, cover cleaned, cover reinforced, staples cleaned. Classic bondage cover used in Seduction Innocent. Okay, so that's that one. Okay. Number 7 on the list is Tales of Suspense, number 39. This is the first appearance of Iron Man, another classic Marvel character that has grown in popularity recently with, you know, with all the MCU movies. This is also restored, but still, even in a restored grade, this book goes for big money. This is one of the more annoying restored books in my collection because the restoration actually is very minor. It is like one of the most minor in my collection. It's literally just like less than a centimeter or like a quarter of an inch trimming that is right there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but that's what it is. That's what the restoration is. It's just that little corner. Looks like somebody just removed that corner, you know, trimmed it in that one spot. So that's why it's restored. Now, if it wasn't restored, this book would be a much more expensive book. Very high grade, presents incredibly well. So this is from Marvel, 1963. It is a Stan Lee story, and it covers by Jack Kirby and Don Heck. It is the first appearance and origin of Iron Man, Tony Stark. First appearance and death of Professor Ying Sen, and is the first appearance of Wong Chu. So very cool book. And actually, this story inside, it's the origin of Iron Man as well. It's very similar to the very first movie that with Robert Downey Jr. So just the time period's a little different. It's Vietnam rather than than the modern era. Okay, number 6 on the list is another restored book. All my books are restored, it feels like. But this is Detective Comics number 38. It is the very first appearance of Robin. Major book. Bob Kane cover. Just a classic book. So this is Bob Kane and Jerry Robinson cover and art. Origin and first appearance of Robin, Dick Grayson. Now this one is extensive A5, which means that it's professional restoration. And that was really common with these kind of major key books. What you would do is if you had a nice copy, you would just want to make it a little bit nicer back in the day. And people would do things to it to enhance enhance the book, maybe conserve the book in some ways. So this book has color touch, pieces added, tear seals, cover cleaned, reinforced. So one of the biggest restorations that was done to this book is the fact that the cover is cleaned. When you have a cover cleaned, that means that they usually use some chemical bath, which is different from like traditional, like the more modern style of cleaning a cover, where you use like an eraser or something where it's doing very little damage to the book and it's just like removing dirt. Back in the day, they would use chemicals to enhance, remove the dirt and enhance the appeal of the cover. But because it's like a complete cover cleaning, well, that's considered extensive restoration, and it cannot be undone. So one of the disappointments of that. But still, I love this book. It is one that's one of the more expensive books in my collection. As you can see, it's number 6 on the list. In this grade, it goes for about $18,000. So just a really cool book. It would be well over $100,000 if it was not restored. So restoration really does impact the value of the book, but it made it affordable for me. So I'm super happy to have this in my collection. First appearance of Robin from 1940. And Robin's really the most iconic sidekick of all time. So it's a cool book. Next one, number 5 on my list, is another recent pickup for me. This is Chamber of Chills number 19. So just a classic pre-code horror. To me, this is the best pre-code horror cover of all time. I love this cover. It's got the good girl mixed with horror elements. You know, you got the girl, her face is being reflected in the glass. You got the little skulls on the guy's cufflinks. And you got this one where she's doing the kind of dainty cigarette smoking. Now, there are copies where you can see the little red on the end of the cigarette, and those go for even more money. But I'm still super happy with this. It's a 5.5, and it's not restored. It's actually a legit copy instead of all these restored ones, and that's why it commands huge money. So this one goes for around $18,000 as well, and it's a Lee Elias cover. So just a classic book. Super happy to have this in my collection. It includes a strangulation splash page and panels. So from 1953. Okay, so the last of the more modern books in my collection that made the list, and it's number 4 on the list, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, number 1. Now, this is a first printing. There's a couple things you can tell. If you ever want to figure out, do you have a first print or a second print of this book? A couple things you can do is look at the colors. Generally, the first print will have like a slightly different color than the later printings. They're a little bit more red or ish, I guess. There's more line work. You can see more line work in the art from the second print compared to, in the first print compared to the second print. Also, in the T, you'll see a little blood spot. Those are the elements to look for first print. Second print doesn't have that little blood spot. So this book is just a really cool, book that started the Copper Age of comics. So we had the book that started the Silver Age. Well, this is the book that started the Copper Age. This is the era that really started the whole idea of anthropomorphic characters like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And they later became a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Probably one of the biggest independent franchises of all time. So this is a white pager as well. And it's a Kevin Eastman cover. It's the origin and the first appearance of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Splinter and Shredder, and it's wraparound cover. You can see the back as well. Very cool book. when they did this, they actually did it as a joke. They didn't think that it was going to be such a big hit, but it turned out to be a very, very popular comic. And as I said, multi-billion-dollar franchise. So that's number 4 on the list. Number 3 on the list is another character that started multi-billion-dollar franchise, is Spider-Man. This is Amazing Fantasy number 15. And it's the very first appearance of Spider-Man. Classic cover by Jack Kirby. It's the origin, the first appearance of Spider-Man, Peter Parker, first appearance of Uncle Ben and Aunt May. Now, mine is a green label. That's why it's not more valuable, but still very expensive, even as a green label. This one, it's missing like a small coupon that was cut out. Doesn't affect story, but it's annoying that it's missing. And it gets the green label. Now, if it was a lower grade, like if it was a 2.5, it would be a blue label, which is kind of annoying, but you know, it is what it is. So this is one of those ones where like it's at that point where it's grades high enough to be a 3.0, but too high to get the blue label for having something missing, like if that makes sense. This book is also notorious for Marvel chipping. This one's pretty good. It does have a Marvel chip in this one corner, though. You can see that a little bit along at the bottom there. Marvel chipping happens because of the way that they cut the paper when they were producing these covers. And it just notoriously would chip. Like you get all these pieces falling off the cover. Really annoying, but you know, this one presents really well for the grade. So yeah, so this is from Marvel Comics 1962. Now we're at number 2 on the list, and I was talking about the 3 books that really make Wonder Woman collectors swoon, I guess. The 3 grails for Wonder Woman collectors. Well, this is probably the biggest. This is All-Star Comics number 8. It's the very first appearance of Wonder Woman. Just a classic book. I mean, this is like, you got all the JSA members on the cover. You got Starman and Hawkman and Dr. Fate and Spectre and Sandman and, you know, just like Jimmy Thunder and the Dr. Midnight, you know, all the major characters. And this was not a DC book. Even though it's classified as a DC book, it was actually All-American. All-American was actually owned partly by the guy that started EC Comics. And he always felt that when he sold his company, like this All-American, to DC, that he really felt like he lost out by losing Wonder Woman. So just a kind of a little extra bit of history there. But this is, you know, Wonder Woman is considered to be the the female superhero of all time. This one is from 1941. It is William Marston story, and it's E. Hubbard or Hibbard cover. So just a classic book. I'll show you the back as well. So in a 2.5, this goes for about $24,000, almost $25,000. Okay, now number 1 on the list is obviously my biggest book in my collection, and it's just a huge book. Huge book. I don't even know if I should be showing this, because if I show it, people might want to come into my house, steal all my comics. I don't know. This is a big book. I'm not even sure if I should show it, just because it is so big. Okay, I'm going to show it. It is The Ferret number 1. This is the first ongoing title for The Ferret. It is just a major book. One that is highly undervalued, actually. Probably multi-millions of these were produced back in the day. And this is from Malibu Comics. Just a really great book. Sadly, this is actually not my number 1 book. I'm just joking with you guys. My number 1 book is Wonder Woman number 1. So again, another restored one. This one goes for over $100,000 if it wasn't restored. but in this grade, it goes for about 28,000 in a 7.5 restored copy. Just a beautiful cover. Another H.G. Peter cover. Classic one where she's going across the no man's land. You know, it's like just a cool book. You know, riding a horse, got her lasso. You know, I just love it all. It's one of the best covers for Wonder Woman. Origin of Wonder Woman Retold, World War II cover. The restoration includes a small amount of color touch on cover, piece added, color reinforced, staples and cover cleaned, all 3 edges trimmed. So restoration is considered to be moderate restoration. But to me, this is one of the big grails for Wonder Woman collectors. And you'll notice that on the list of the 25 that I showed all 3 of the big grails for Wonder Woman. So I just love this book. It's one of my favorite comics in my collection. I'm a big Wonder Woman fan, if you haven't realized that yet. Definitely a big book. So yeah, that's it. That is my top 25 comics in my collection by price. I hope you enjoyed the list. I'd also like to put a tag out there for other collectors to respond to. So I'm going to tag 3 channels, and if you participate in this challenge, I hope that you can tag 3 channels as well, and we can kind of make this a little bit viral. So I'm going to tag Matt Likes Comics. He's a friend of mine. He's a local friend, friend in real life, which is nice. So Matt Likes Comics, I'm tagging you. And I'm going to tag Jerry the Jitterbug, who's another friend. He has a pretty amazing collection. He does really great conservation of comics. And the last person I'm going to tag is Night Tiger Comics, another friend of the channel. He has an amazing collection as well. He's really good at finding Golden Age books for cheap. And he's got a really amazing collection. So those 3 channels, if you haven't checked them out, they're all going to be linked in the description of this video, so you can check those out. And if you want to participate in this cover challenge, you can use the hashtag Friday Comic Challenge and the hashtag Top 25. So I hope everyone tries this out and shows their biggest books in their collection. I'd love to see it. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.